my target audience, and we're going to talk about the two big topics with that. Dan's favorite, graphic violence and sex.
Usually those two are related.
Yeah.
No.
So for my target audience as young adults, I have to kind of go the 13 to 18 acceptable range. I can use some cussing, I can use some violence. I mean, obviously I write about murder. Nothing super graphic. But I can't just sit there, although video games nowadays with 10-year-olds, I mean, big, right? Yeah, who cares? You know, whatever. But I work in a middle school. I have to be careful of that. Sex is a very complicated thing in young adults. It's because
Oh, it is for grown-ups too.
Oh, is it? Okay, good to know.
It doesn't get less out.
And I meant in books.
Oh, right.
You too? That's what
Yeah.
you meant? Okay, okay.
That's not what he meant.
But you have to figure out, like, will this work for these characters? Is my audience, you know, ready for this? Is it natural? Blah, blah, blah. Just this complicated thing. Adult world, they can go at it and it doesn't matter. Not that that happens.
Right.
And the thing is,
You have to know your audience.
when you're writing, it doesn't mean that you can't have those things
No,
in your
absolutely.
story. It's important that you tell it correctly with your target audience in mind. Who read the Harry Potter novels? If you're not raising your hand, you're illiterate. Because everyone's read it. Hi, Allie. If you've read the Harry Potter, if you just sat down and outlined the stories, they're the most violent, horrific stories I have ever read. My first novel was about an outlaw biker gang that are werewolves. They
And
kill
there was less
people, they
violence.
rape. There's less violence in my novel than there is in Harry Potter. I mean, it's terrifying, and yet it's written at a level that,
Makes
you
it
know,
okay.
did anybody read The Hunger Games? Okay, who thought The Hunger Games was the most horrifying story idea ever? And yet, who took their children to that movie? Mothers! Everybody! It's a great thing! And I'm watching it thinking, this is The Running Man from the 80s with...
Whether or not
Arnold
Schwarzenegger, that movie's awesome.
My dad took us to it because it was
I
a great
can-
picture of a dystopian society.
I
And
couldn't
it's
go
just-
off that.
Oh my God! Okay, give us another one.
Okay, no, with Hunger Games.
Oh.
My whole school of 600 students, we all went on a field trip to see Hunger Games. I am the only teacher that toured by.
And yet, if your child
I
came
know, I'm
home,
like,
and if they just told you
crazy.
that your teacher did a mock, everybody got assigned different characters, and we acted out this book.
Yeah, we did. But we
I mean, I'm
weren't-
old enough, I don't think there's anybody in the room close to my age who read The Lord of the Flies.
Oh,
And that was a horrifying thing.
oh, yeah.
Okay, Hunger Games is worse. Or on a similar level, but don't look at me like that. Any other group that takes a group of children and has a contest where they have to rush to arm themselves and kill each other off until there's only one survivor? How many people in this country were offended when the Belko experiment came out 3 months ago? Everybody. They were shocked and horrified. What a terrible thing to take a corporate building and lock it down and make them kill each other. Guess what? That's the Hunger Games grown up. Same storyline. Same.
It's all about your
Just
language.
adults and not teenagers.
But adults. And it's not cute. Mothers aren't taking their 8-year-old to see Hannah Montana shoot somebody in the face with an arrow. Because now they're using axes.
She uses wrecking balls, dude.
No. But it's the same story. So, and part of me is offended by that. But at the same time, it is acceptable because the language use for your target audience makes it
Acceptable.
acceptable. Okay? And you have to remember that when you're telling your story. Did everybody see Major Payne? I love you guys. You get all of my references, even if they're like made before you were born and haven't been. Major Payne was this Marine Corps instructor that had zero social consciousness. Just kind of. So he was telling a story to a little 6-year-old boy about the little engine that could, and one of his buddies getting his legs blown off in combat. And this was the story, and it was horribly inappropriate to tell that story to the kid. But that's like the right example of using the wrong words to tell a story. And if you're going to be a storyteller, and you do it, most people do it unconsciously. If you're trying to explain something to a 6-year-old,
Right.
you tell it in certain words. And if you're trying to tell a story to your best friend, you can just say the words. And if you're trying to tell a story to your parents and you don't want to make them think poorly of you, You
And tell them what
use different words to tell the story, minimizing your impact on the situation. This was not my fault, Mom. That was all his fault.
The sources are your best friend.
That's always my.
I have a funny story actually with, okay. So my publisher for my second book, there's a kind of hot makeout scene. That's okay, young adult, you know. She was reading it and she said, "That's inappropriate. Teenagers don't make out in bleachers." And I'm like, "What school did you
All right.
go to?"
What?
Teenagers who made out under the bleachers.
I went to an all-girls
We
school.
don't have bleachers.
Wow.
That doesn't mean you couldn't have made out under the bleachers. That's the best story yet. All girls school, we were making out under the bleachers practicing for someday.
There were no bleachers. How about we leave it at that?
Fine, who made out in high school with anybody?
It was a private boarding
Not
school.
actually on the school.
There were
That's
snack bars and
disgusting.
stuff under the bleachers. The band hall was always empty though.
There you go.
Yeah, there's always
There's
that
one
one
time.
place in
Yeah.
every school.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny because she's 28 like me, and I'm like, "What school did you go to? Public?" I'm like, "I don't think so."
Not if you're having that response to that.
Exactly. I thought it was funny.
That if she wore a blindfold
But
through
then
school.
we're
Or
going
she was
to
mean,
a gangster
because I never did.
Yay, my favorite part.
Yes.
In case you're messy about it.
Never mind.
I was not for
All right, the climax of the story. When you are a storyteller, somebody mentioned it earlier, if you lose your audience and just make up a random ending, it's anticlimactic. Everybody knows, joking aside, the climax of the story is the high point. This is what everything has built towards, and the reason why you're the guide when you tell a story is you know where that story is supposed to go, and everything in the book, or in the movie, or in the screenplay, or the graphic novel, or whatever medium you're using, all of it should build to this earth-shattering conclusion.
You all
Even if
did
it's a
those charts in
small-scale
middle.
story, it still builds to a high point. So when you have the climax in your story, you have to make sure that it's everything you want if you're reading a book. Okay? If you were reading on the outside and you don't know the characters because you've been playing them in your head for 8 years before it got published, 9 years,
Yeah.
if you pick it up from a fresh perspective and you're reading it, when you get to the climax, is it rewarding? Is it what you wanted it to be? Does it make you put down the book and go, where is the next one?
Or cry.
Or you need a cigarette. Or cry. There's nothing, if we're back to talking about the Notebook, aren't we?
No, actually.
Or there's, I mean, did anybody see Old Yeller? That was the worst climax ever, but everybody cried. The most devastating movie ever. Destroyed my childhood. Let's go Star Wars instead. You remember when the Death Star blew up? That's a climax! Because the whole thing built towards that. Your story needs to have a climax that's worthy of the name. Okay? It should be earth-shattering. And it should answer reader questions. Doesn't mean it has to answer all of them. Because you have to have room for sequels, but the things that are unanswered should be minor and less important.
Don't make more questions.
The big conflict should actually be resolved during the climax
You do that in
and answer questions. And again, it should also give the reader the thirst to read on. Not necessarily because there's unanswered questions. I'm not a big fan of cliffhangers. Okay, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. Okay? But if I'm going to spend $22.99 on a book, it better have a damn ending.
Right.
And not, if you want to find out what happened to your favorite character, wait 3 years and spend another $22.99.
Or $12.50 for a movie ticket.
I want an answer. $12.50.
That's what they
Well,
cost.
not where we live, that's about how much.
Yeah,
So
no, yeah.
it should have the only successful cliffhanger that I really walked out of the theater, since you brought it up, not feeling betrayed, was the Empire Strikes Back. I mean, they left Han Solo frozen in carbonite, but you know what? The movie was so well done that it was like, I know I'm waiting 3 years to find out what happened, but it'll be worth it.
Exactly.
And as cheesy as the last movie was, the third movie was, it was worth it. But normally, you don't want a cliffhanger. You want to have a good concrete ending so the story stands by itself, and people are going to want to read on because the story was so good, and they want to know what else you have,